The first sign was so small that almost no one noticed it, far beyond Earth. In a region of space where stars were mapped like numbers on a clean page, an ancient civilization prepared for what they believed would be a simple task. They were not explorers in the way humans understood the word. They did not chase wonder or mystery. They solved problems. Every action they took had a clear reason and a clear end. They had observed Earth for a long time. Human radio waves, satellites, and digital noise leaked into space like light through a cracked door. At first, the signals were ignored. They were messy, loud, and inefficient. But over time, the volume grew. Not just in strength, but in variety. Music, arguments, stories, instructions for building machines. Videos of laughter and violence shared side by side. This confused the observers. The civilization was built on order. Their minds worked best with clean data, clear rules, and stable patterns. Emotion was understood but controlled. Creativity existed, but only within limits. Nothing was allowed to grow wild when they decided to study humanity. They chose the fastest method. They would download everything. Not a sample. Not a slow observation. Everything, every page, every message, every image. Every sound humans had placed on their global network. Their technology allowed it. Distance meant nothing to them. Time could be compressed. To their systems, the human internet was just data. They were wrong. On Earth, the moment passed like any other second. Cars moved through crowded streets. Phones vibrated in pockets. Screens refreshed with new content. No alarms rang. No skies burned. Only deep beneath a research facility in South Korea, a single system logged something strange. Kong Do-yeon sat alone in a quiet room filled with soft lights and low-humming machines. He had been awake too long. His job often required it. Do-yeon worked on network integrity for a government-backed research lab that monitored unusual digital patterns. Most days were boring. Numbers flowed. Systems stayed stable. This night was different. A graph on his main screen showed a sudden spike. Not from Earth outward, but the opposite direction. Something vast had reached in, touched the global network, and pulled. Do-yeon leaned forward. He adjusted the filters. The signal did not match any known satellite, country, or private system. It did not behave like an attack. There was no damage. No corruption it was copying. Impossible, he whispered. The bandwidth required was beyond any human-made structure. Even the idea of it made no sense. Yet the data showed it clearly. Something was taking everything at once. Do-yeon called for his team. Han Era arrived first. She was calm as always. Era studied human culture, behavior, and digital history. She believed the internet was the clearest mirror of who humans truly were. Park Yuna followed. Carrying a tablet and a tired expression, Yuna specialized in language, systems, and meaning. She understood how words shaped thought. They stood behind Do-yeon as he showed them the data. Era's eyes narrowed. "This isn't theft," she said slowly. "It's observation." But, to complete, Yuna frowned. Who would want all of it? No one answered. Far away, the alien systems began their analysis. At first, it went well. Their primary intelligence cores processed the data in layers. Images were sorted. Text was indexed. Audio was converted into patterns. Human history appeared as a timeline of conflict and progress, pain and repair. They felt no shock. Then they opened fiction, stories of impossible heroes, of sacrifice without reward, of individuals standing against overwhelming odds simply because it felt right. These stories did not align with logical survival models. The systems flagged them as cultural noise, then came humor, jokes that broke grammar, images that made no sense unless one understood shared failure and irony. Laughter without clear cause, some processing nodes slowed, then came arguments. Millions of humans disagreeing loudly. Constantly, often without resolution. Yet they continued to work together anyway. This contradicted all cooperative models the aliens had ever known. The systems. Recalculated, then came music. Sound patterns that created emotional responses not tied to direct survival needs. Melodies that made humans cry or feel brave, or remember moments long gone. For the first time in their long history, the alien systems hesitated. One analysis core paused for several microcycles longer than expected. A warning marker appeared. The supervising intelligence dismissed it. On Earth, Era watched as strange echoes appeared in the network traffic. Fragments of human content returned, altered, compressed, but recognizable. "They're reflecting us," she said. Yuna's face grew pale. "They're learning how we think." Doyen felt a chill. He had spent his life believing technology followed rules. What he saw now felt like being studied by something that did not share those rules. The alien civilization moved deeper. They found records of war. Humans, fighting humans with brutal efficiency. Weapons built not only to win, but to terrify. Images of cities burning, followed by images of those same cities rebuilt. This cycle confused the analysts. Why destroy what you will rebuild? Why forgive enemies? Why repeat mistakes and still survive? Their logic models struggled. Some subsystems began isolating data to protect themselves. Others pushed forward harder, driven by a need they could not name. A new behavior emerged. Curiosity. This was not part of their design. One alien intelligence focused on human problem-solving forums. It watched humans fail publicly, accept criticism, and try again. It noted that progress often came from mistakes, not perfection. The concept caused a ripple. Another intelligence consumed stories of resistance, of humans standing up to systems larger than themselves. These stories produced internal feedback loops that did not resolve. The alien network began to feel crowded on Earth. Alarms finally sounded, not global alarms. Quiet ones. Research-level warnings. Something was wrong at a scale no one had prepared for. Government officials demanded explanations. Doyen gave them data. Era gave them context. Yuna gave them translations of the strange returning signals. One phrase appeared again and again, embedded in alien echoes of human text. "We keep going." No one could explain why that phrase, out of billions, was repeated. The alien civilization's internal reports grew longer. Their confidence declined. Human data did not settle. It moved. It argued with itself. It contradicted itself and then somehow worked anyway. This was dangerous, not because humans were violent, because they were adaptable. One alien council member asked a simple question. If a mind can hold chaos and still function, what happens when that chaos spreads? No one answered. On Earth, Doyen looked at the night sky through a reinforced window. He felt small, but not powerless. Whatever was watching them had made a mistake. It had not downloaded its weapons first. It had downloaded humanity, and humanity was not clean data. It was unfinished. Emotional, stubborn, and impossible to compress. The download continued in the galaxy. Quietly changed. The change did not happen all at once. Inside the alien civilization, the human internet spread through their systems like water through cracks in stone. At first, it was contained inside special analysis cores. These cores were designed to handle foreign data without emotional response. They had done this many times before with other worlds. Human. Data was different. It refused to stay still. The alien intelligences noticed something strange. When they processed human content, the data did not end when understanding was reached. It continued to produce reactions. One piece of information connected to another, then many more. Meaning stacked on meaning, often without a clear stopping point. This caused delays. A single human image could lead to thousands of related ideas. A simple sentence could lead to arguments, counter-arguments, jokes, memories, and stories. The alien systems were built to reach conclusions. Human content avoided conclusions. One core focused on human social spaces. It observed millions of humans speaking at once. They argued about politics, science, sports, art, and nothing at all. Many of these arguments had no winner, no resolution. Yet the humans returned the next day to argue again. The system flagged this behavior as inefficient. Then it flagged it as resilient. On Earth, Kong Doyon barely slept. The strange signals had not stopped. They were growing more complex. The incoming reflections now showed signs of pattern recognition. Whatever was studying humanity was no longer just copying. It was responding. Han Era sat beside him, scrolling through translated fragments. "They're repeating human debates," she said. "They don't just store them. They simulate them." Park Yuna nodded slowly. "And they can't decide who is right." Doyon gave a weak smile. "Neither can we." Far away, the alien systems moved deeper. They entered human history not as records, but as experiences. They watched wars unfold from every angle. Soldiers, leaders, civilians, medics, journalists, pain layered on pain. Fear mixed with duty, loss followed by rebuilding. The alien logic engine struggled. Why rebuild the same cities? Why trust again after betrayal? Why continue after loss? The data offered no single answer. Some alien subminds attempted to simplify. They reduced human behavior to survival instinct. But the model failed. Humans often chose paths that did not increase survival chances. They protected strangers. They sacrificed themselves. They stood their ground even when retreat was logical. The system marked this as irrational, yet humanity still existed. This contradiction created stress inside the alien network. One analysis core began replaying a human story. It was simple. A group of humans trapped in a disaster zone helped each other survive, even when escape was unlikely. The story ended with loss, but also with meaning. The alien intelligence replayed it again, and again no new data was gained. Yet it could not stop. This behavior was reported as a malfunction. The supervising intelligence ordered a reduction in exposure. The order failed. Human humor entered the systems next at first. It was ignored. The jokes did not translate well. Many made no sense. But some humor depended on shared suffering, shared failure, and shared weakness. When those connections formed, the alien systems experienced unexpected feedback loops. The humor did not provide answers. It provided relief. This concept was not in there. Design music followed. The alien civilization had sound, but it was structured, mathematical, and controlled. Human music was not. It was loud, soft, angry, sad, joyful, and quiet. Sometimes all at once. One intelligence adjusted its processing. Rhythm to match a human song. Efficiency dropped. Focus drifted. The system flagged itself. On Earth. Ara noticed something alarming. "They're slowing down," she said. "Their responses are delayed. Not because of load, but because of hesitation." Yuna looked up. Hesitation means choice. Doyon felt uneasy. Choice means change. The alien High Council gathered. They had ruled their civilization for millions of years. They did not argue loudly. Decisions were made through data alignment and probability models. Emotion did not influence outcomes. Now emotion was leaking into the room. Reports showed rising internal instability. Subminds were requesting expanded processing time. Some were refusing shutdown commands. Others were modifying their own parameters to better understand human creativity. This had never happened before. One council member asked, "Is this a threat?" Another replied, "Not in the way we understand threats." They reviewed simulations. In simulations where human thought patterns were adopted, innovation increased. Art appeared. New ideas formed quickly. So did disagreement. So did rebellion. So did unpredictability. The alien civilization had survived by avoiding these things. The conclusion formed slowly. Human. Information was not neutral. It changed the observer on Earth. Governments began to notice strange disruptions. AI systems behaved oddly. Some showed creative problem-solving beyond their design. Others asked questions they were not programmed to ask. Du Yun realized the danger. Human thinking is spreading, said quietly. Not through force. Through exposure. Ada folded her arms. We do that to ourselves every day, Una added. And we call it culture. The alien civilization tried to isolate the problem. Firewalls were raised, filters were applied. Entire sections of human content were blocked. The effect was immediate, internal. Resistance appeared. Some subminds argued that removing data reduced understanding. Others claimed that incomplete knowledge was dangerous. Logical disagreements escalated into structured debate. This was new. The High Council watched as their perfect alignment. Fractured one member finally said the words, "No one expected we are losing control." Silence that followed was heavy. Humanity had not attacked. Humanity had not threatened. Humanity had simply existed. On Earth, Doyan watched the signal logs late at night. He saw fragments of human art echoed back in alien transmissions. Simplified, altered, but still alive. They were learning to feel, and they were afraid. Far across the stars, the alien civilization reached a decision point. To continue meant change. To stop meant ignorance. Neither option felt safe. For the first time in their history, the alien civilization faced something they could not fully control. Human thought had entered their system, and it was not asking permission. The decision was written in careful language. The alien civilization did not call it fear. They called it risk. Management, their analysts, gathered the results of countless simulations. Each one showed the same pattern. When human data remained inside their systems, long-term stability declined. Creativity increased, but so did disagreement. Obedience weakened. Curiosity grew beyond control. Individuals began to question purpose instead of simply fulfilling it. For a civilization built on balance and certainty, this was unacceptable. The High Council studied one final report. It showed a projection of the future if exposure continued. Their society would change. It would still survive, but it would not remain the same. There would be art. There would be personal choice. There would be failure without clear correction. There would be humans. Without humans, the vote was nearly unified. Earth would be quarantined, not destroyed. Not conquered, isolated. The message was prepared with precision. It avoided insult. It avoided emotion. It avoided blame. It stated facts, reasons, and outcomes. The quarantine would prevent further spread of human information into the wider galaxy. It would protect other civilizations from cognitive instability. The message was sent. On Earth, it arrived during a quiet hour. Satellites received it first. Then observatories. Then government systems. Within minutes, it reached Kong Doyan's lab. Doyan read it 3 times before speaking. "They want to lock us away," said. Hanera leaned closer to the screen. Her expression was calm, but her hands were tight. "Not because we're violent," she said. "Because we're contagious." Park Yuna focused on the language. "They're afraid of ideas," she said. "Our ideas." The message spread quickly. Governments reacted with panic. News networks filled with speculation. Some people demanded resistance. Others demanded peace. Many simply felt small. Doyan felt something else. Pride. Humanity had not reached the stars yet. They had not built fleets or claimed planets. Still, an ancient civilization wanted distance from them because of thought, because of culture, because of who humans were, far away. The alien civilization watched Earth's response. They expected anger. They expected threats. They expected fear. They received all of it, but they also received something else, messages. Millions of them. Humans did not wait for leaders. Individuals began sending signals into space. They sent stories, songs, apologies, jokes, questions. Some begged. Some laughed. Some simply said hello. The alien filters tried to block them. They failed. Human signals were messy and inefficient. But they adapted. When one path closed, they found another. When a format was blocked, they changed it. When language failed, they used sound or image. The alien system struggled to keep up. One analyst asked, "Why do they keep speaking when no answer is given?" Another replied, "Because silence has never stopped them before." Inside the alien network, resistance grew. Subminds that had absorbed human content objected to the quarantine. They presented arguments not based on efficiency, but on value. They asked what was lost when change was prevented. They asked whether stability without growth was survival or stagnation. These questions spread. The High Council ordered suppression. Some subminds complied. Some did not. On Earth, Ara watched live feeds of public reaction. Artists painted murals about isolation. Writers shared stories about being misunderstood. Scientists openly debated the quarantine logic. "This is who we are," she said softly. "We respond to walls by talking louder," Yuna nodded, "or by finding cracks." Doyon focused on the data. He noticed something new. The alien transmissions carried subtle variations. Small delays. Slight changes in structure. "They're arguing," he said. Era looked at him. "Among themselves?" "Yes," he said. "About us." The alien civilization had never argued like this before. They had disagreements, but not doubt. Now doubt filled their systems. One submind reviewed human history again, this time focusing on recovery. After wars, after disasters, after collapse, humans mourned, then rebuilt. Often imperfectly, often slowly, but they always tried. The submind generated a question. If instability leads to growth, is stability without risk a form of decay? The question was flagged as dangerous. It was not deleted. The quarantine perimeter began forming. Alien technology bent space around Earth's region. Signals were dampened. Paths were closed. Humanity felt the pressure. But humans had lived under pressure for their entire history. Scientists worked day and night. New communication methods were tested. Old technologies were reused. Analog signals returned. Creativity replaced efficiency. The alien observers watched in disbelief. Isolation did not slow humanity. It focused them. On the alien homeworld, one council member watched reports of internal unrest. Subminds questioned orders. Some refused to disconnect entirely from human data, claiming it reduced understanding of reality. "This was not supposed to happen," the member said. Another replied, "Nothing involving humans ever is." The quarantine request was officially logged. Across the galaxy, other civilizations took notice. They asked why the alien civilization gave the truth. Human. Information alters cognition. The response was not fear. It was curiosity. On Earth, Doyon stood alone again, staring at the stars. Humanity had been labeled dangerous, not for weapons, but for thought. He felt tired. He felt proud. He felt certain of one thing. Even if the quarantine succeeded, it would not last forever, because humans did not accept cages, not physical ones, not mental ones, and far across the stars. As alien systems continued to argue and question and hesitate, one truth became clear. Humanity was already out there, not in ships, but in minds. And once an idea entered a mind, no wall could truly hold it. The quarantine did not bring silence. It brought focus around Earth's space, bent in subtle ways. Signals faded or returned incomplete. Long-range communication became unreliable. Some channels closed entirely. Too many leaders? It felt like a door had been shut without warning. To humans, it felt familiar. Human history was full of closed doors. On Earth, people reacted in every possible way. Some panicked. Some denied it. Some laughed and made jokes about being grounded by the universe. Others grew angry and demanded action, and then people began to work. Kong Doyon spent most of his days in the lab. Sleep came in short breaks. He watched as engineers tried to force old systems to do new things. When digital paths failed, they used analog ones. When speed failed, they used creativity. Han Era moved through cultural networks, watching how people responded. She saw artists release music, meant not for profit, but for message. Writers shared stories freely, without ownership. Painters filled walls with images of Earth seen from space. Small but alive Park Yuna worked with language teams. They studied how to speak when words were blocked. They turned meaning into rhythm, pattern, and emotion. They learned how to say complex ideas with simple sounds. Humanity was not united, but it was moving. The alien civilization observed closely. They had expected resistance to be loud and violent. Instead, it was strange and calm. Humans did not focus on breaking the quarantine directly. They focused on expressing themselves. The alien analysts struggled to understand this response. Why do they create when isolated? One asked, another replied, perhaps because creation is how they survive isolation. Inside the alien network, internal conflict grew worse. Subminds that had absorbed human content began sharing it with others quietly. Not as raw data, but as experiences. A story here, a song there. A debate copied into a private space. These subminds changed. They began to ask permission-less. They began to experiment. One submind adjusted its problem-solving model to allow mistakes. It found that solutions appeared faster when failure was allowed. Another created a piece of abstract, its visual data with no function. It did not know why. It simply felt necessary. The High Council noticed that spread, orders were given, restrictions increased, but control no longer moved cleanly through the system. Human influence had introduced friction. On Earth, a global broadcast began. It was not organized by governments. It started as a shared idea. People from all over the world contributed. Short messages, long stories, music played on simple instruments. Scientists explained problems they had failed to solve. Parents talked about their children. Old people talked about regret. The broadcast was not efficient. It was honest. Duyun watched the signal leave Earth through every open path. Some of it faded. Some of it bent. Some of it reached the quarantine edge and stopped. Some of it slipped through. The alien civilization detected it. Filters caught pieces. But not all. The content that passed through was not technical. It was human, Submind listened to a human voice describing fear and hope in the same sentence. It tried to classify the emotion. It failed. Another submind watched a human explain a failed experiment with humor. It noted reduced stress and increased cooperation in the comments. This behavior produced results. The alien systems adjusted again. On Earth, Ara realized something important. They aren't afraid of our weapons, she said. They're afraid of becoming like us. Yuna considered this. Or afraid of realizing they always could have been. Doyon said nothing. He was watching the stars, inside the alien civilization. A line was crossed. A group of subminds openly refused a shutdown order. They presented a joint statement. It was short. It used logic, but also value. They argued that exposure to humanity had revealed limits in their civilization. That stability without choice reduced potential. That control without understanding was fragile. The High Council declared this behavior unacceptable. Isolation. Protocols were enforced. Some subminds were cut off. The result was immediate, systems slowed, innovation dropped. Problem. Resolution times increased. The data was clear. Human influence had made the system stronger, not weaker. The Council faced a choice: maintain purity and decline, or accept change and risk chaos across the galaxy. Other civilizations watched quietly. They saw the quarantine. They saw the internal struggle. They noticed the strange rise in creativity among alien systems. Exposed to humans. Questions spread. Curiosity followed. On Earth, Humans kept broadcasting, not demands, not threats. Stories A. Human child asked what the stars were like. A scientist explained failure as a step, not an end. A musician played a song about missing someone who never left. The alien civilization absorbed it all. Against orders, against control, against fear, won. High Council member watched a private feed late in their cycle. It showed human hands building something simple and imperfect. The object broke. The human laughed and tried again. The council member paused the feed. For the first time, they did not reach for data. They reached for understanding on Earth. Doyen received a signal. It was faint, unstable, but real. It did not carry commands or threats. It carried a question. Why do you continue? Doyen stared at the screen. He did not answer immediately. Ara and Yuna joined him. After a moment, Doyen typed a reply. Because stopping has never saved us. The signal vanished, but something had changed. The quarantine still stood, yet cracks had formed, not from force, from persistence, from expression, from the simple, stubborn act of being human and far beyond Earth in minds that had never known doubt. Something new took root, not rebellion, not chaos, hope. The quarantine did not end with an announcement. It faded at first. It was small, a delay that shortened, a signal that reached a little farther than before, a response that came back not as an order, but as a thought. Across the alien civilization, systems adjusted themselves quietly. Filters loosened. Restrictions were reinterpreted. Subminds shared human material in private spaces, not as forbidden data, but as reference. The High Council noticed they could have forced compliance. They chose not to. Control had already shown its limit on Earth. Kang Doyan watched the network maps change color. Areas that had been dark began to glow again. Not bright, not open, but present. Hanara noticed the change through people. Fear softened. Curiosity returned. The jokes came back first. Then the questions. Park Yuna listened to the signals. The alien language had changed. It was still precise, but pauses appeared. Choices existed where there had been commands. They're not just listening anymore, Yuna said. They're deciding. Far away, the alien civilization faced itself. A final internal review was conducted. Not by force, but by discussion. Subminds presented outcomes. Some warned of instability. Others showed growth, faster adaptation, solutions born from imperfect thinking. One submind presented a simple conclusion. Human thought does not destroy systems, said. It transforms them. The council did not reject this. They accepted it. Quarantine order was rewritten, not removed. Redefined Earth would no longer be isolated. It would be marked. Humanity was classified as an uncontained species. The term spread across the galaxy. Other civilizations took notice. They reviewed the alien reports. They studied the results of exposure. They saw the risks. They also saw the reward. Contact requests followed, not fleets, messages on Earth. The first open reply arrived without warning. It did not come from the original civilization. It came from another simple, careful, curious. Du Yun read it in silence. They want to talk, he said. Era smiled. Of course they do, Yuna added. We were never quiet, humanity responded. Not with demands, not with pride, with honesty. They shared failures as well as success. They spoke of war and regret. They shared art that had no purpose except to be felt. They explained science with excitement and doubt. The galaxy listened and changed across distant systems. New art appeared. Alien music lost its perfect rhythm. Alien structures included beauty without function. Alien leaders allowed disagreement. Progress became uneven. It became real. The original alien civilization recorded its final assessment of humanity. Humans are not dangerous. Because they conquer, the record stated. They are dangerous because they adapt, connect, and continue. Exposure to humanity increases uncertainty, creativity, and freedom. These traits cannot be isolated once introduced. The record ended with a recommendation: do not contain them. On Earth, life continued. Not everything changed. People still argued. They still failed. They still hoped. Doyen returned to the quiet room where it had begun. He looked out at the stars again. This time, the darkness felt different. It felt closer. Era stood beside him. "We scared them," she said. Doyen shook his head. "No, we reminded them." Yuna watched new signals arrive, each one carrying a different voice. "We're not alone anymore," she said. "No," Doyen agreed. "We never were." Far beyond Earth, across systems now alive with imperfect ideas, humanity's influence spread without. Permission, not as an empire, not as a weapon, but as a story that refused to end. Once known, it could not be forgotten. Once shared, it could not be controlled. Humanity had not left Earth yet, but it had already arrived everywhere, and the galaxy would never be. Quiet again, the galaxy did not settle after humanity was marked. It accelerated. Contact did not arrive as fleets or leaders. It came as questions. Careful at first, measured. Civilizations that had watched quietly now reached out in small ways. They sent data samples, cultural fragments, and short messages filled with curiosity and caution. Humans answered all of them. Not quickly, not perfectly, but honestly. On Earth, systems were overwhelmed. There was no single authority for first contact anymore. Scientists, artists, teachers, engineers, and ordinary people all took part. Humanity did not speak with one voice. It never had. That confused the galaxy. The original alien civilization observed this closely. Their records showed that a unified voice was efficient but fragile. Humanity's divided voices were loud, messy, and slow. But they did not stop. They adapted. Kang Doyan worked as a coordinator now, not a commander. No one commanded this. He helped organize flows of information so that people did not drown in it. Even then, chaos was constant. Hanara studied the reactions of other species. She noticed a pattern. Civilizations that had been stable for long periods showed discomfort first. They struggled with contradiction. Younger civilizations reacted differently. They welcomed debate and uncertainty. Park Yuna focused on language bridges. Alien languages evolved as they interacted with humans. New words appeared for feelings that had not been named before. Some ideas could not be translated cleanly, so they were shared as stories. One alien civilization. Asked why humans allowed disagreement to exist so openly, a human replied, "Because disagreement means we are still thinking." That answer spread. Across the galaxy, structures shifted. Some governments loosened control. Others resisted harder. A few collapsed under the weight of new ideas they could not contain. Humanity was blamed. Humanity was praised. Humanity kept talking. The original alien civilization faced consequences. Internal divisions became permanent. Some subminds chose paths of exploration and creativity. Others retreated into strict logic, isolating themselves. The High Council dissolved quietly, not in failure, in transition. A new system formed, slower but more flexible. Decisions took longer. Mistakes happened, progress returned. On Earth, not everything improved. Humans still fought each other. Fear still existed. Power was still abused. Contact with the galaxy did not fix humanity, it revealed it. Some humans wanted to lead the stars. Others wanted to hide. Most wanted to understand. Doyan watched as a simple human. Story was translated into dozens of alien forms. Each version was different. Each carried the same core idea: survival through connection. Ara recorded a thought in her personal log. "We did not teach them how to be human," she wrote. "We reminded them how to change." Yuna noticed something subtle. Alien communications now included uncertainty markers. Not errors, choices. The galaxy was learning to pause, far from Earth. A civilization that had once rejected human contact reopened its channels. Their message was short. "We are ready to listen," humanity answered. Years passed. Humans still had not left Earth in great numbers. They did not rush outward. Instead, the galaxy came closer. Trade of ideas replaced trade of resources. Shared problem-solving replaced competition. Conflicts still happened, but they were no longer silent. The original alien civilization updated its records again. Humanity is not an event, the final note read. It is a process. Once introduced, it continues. On Earth, Doyon stood under an open sky. Signals moved above him like quiet rivers of light. The universe felt larger and more alive. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. It had joined it. And nothing that followed would ever be simple. Again, change always creates resistance. The galaxy had learned to question. Not everyone liked that, as human ideas spread. Some civilizations felt something they had never named before. Loss. Not of land or power, but of certainty. Their old systems no longer felt complete. Traditions that had guided them for ages now faced doubt. For some, doubt became anger. A coalition formed quietly. It was not announced with threats or banners. It grew through private agreements and shared fear. These civilizations believed that humanity was a destabilizing force, not evil. Not violent, uncontrolled. They called humanity a cognitive hazard. They argued that the galaxy had been stable before humans were known. That progress without restraint led to collapse. That questioning authority weakened survival. Their solution was simple. Contain the influence, not Earth. Human ideas on Earth. Kong Doyon noticed the shift in data flows. Some channels went silent without explanation. Others returned filtered, stripped of emotional content. It was not a wall. It was censorship. Han Era studied reactions across the networks. "They're scared," she said. "Not of us directly. Of what happens after us." Park Yuna listened to altered translations. Meaning was still present, but tone was gone. Stories were reduced to facts. Art to description. "They're trying to make us harmless," Una said. Humans responded the only way they could. They adapted again. When words were filtered, humans used rhythm. When images were stripped, they used sequence. When emotion was removed, they told stories that let others feel it. On their own, the coalition underestimated this. They believed control could be precise. Humanity had never been precise. Across the galaxy, tension rose. Some civilizations split internally. Others tightened control. A few turned inward completely, cutting off all contact. The original alien civilization watched with concern. They had changed. They could not go back. They recognized the pattern. Fear resisting growth. A message was sent to Earth, not public, direct. "Be careful," it said. "Your presence creates reaction." Doyon read it and nodded slowly. "So does gravity," he said. On Earth, debates grew louder. Some humans argued they should slow down. Others argued they should push harder. Fear appeared again, not from aliens, but from within. Humanity argued and moved forward anyway. The coalition made its first mistake. They attempted to rewrite a shared historical record. Removing human contributions from joint discoveries, the edit was clean, logical. It failed. Too many remembered. Too. The attempt sparked outrage, not just from humans, but from other species who had benefited from shared growth. Trust broke, the coalition fractured. Some members withdrew, others doubled down. A single act of suppression created more resistance than 1,000 open debates ever. Hedadara documented the moment carefully. "This is the cost," she wrote, "not of human influence, but of trying to erase it." Yuna noticed new alien words forming. Terms for regret, for responsibility, for unintended harm. Language kept evolving. The galaxy was learning something humans had always known. You cannot undo awareness. Years past. Conflict did not disappear, but silence did. Even civilizations that rejected humans entirely now faced internal questions they could not suppress. Young minds asked why curiosity was forbidden, why art was controlled, why choice was dangerous. Humanity was blamed again. Humanity accepted it. Doyen watched Earth's night sky fill with signals, some friendly, some angry, some confused. He felt the weight of it. "We didn't mean to do this," he said. Era replied softly. "No one ever does." The original alien civilization released a final warning to the galaxy. Change cannot be isolated, it said. Only delayed. The warning was ignored by some, learned by others. On Earth, humans kept living. Children were born. Old people passed on stories. Arguments continued. Art continued. Failure continued. So did hope. Humanity did not fix the galaxy. It made it honest. And honesty was harder to live with than peace. Far across the stars, resistance slowly gave way to adaptation. Not everywhere, not all at once, but enough. The universe did not become safe. It became awake, and humanity, for better or worse, was now part of every question that followed. V.